The movie is divided into 3 chapters that are told from different perspectives and periods of Takaki Tano's life. They have consecutively titled Cherry Blossoms, Cosmonaut, and 5 centimeters per second. Before we go, this video contains spoilers. So please take this warning for those that haven't watched this movie yet. Without further ado, here's the recap of 5 centimeters per second. The opening scene has Akari telling Takaki that the falling speed at which cherry blossoms fall is 5 centimeters per second. When walking together, they are separated by the passing train. Akari told Takaki about her wish to watch the cherry blossoms fall again with him next year. And then the first chapter, Cherry Blossoms, begins. Now Takaki and Akari communicate with each other by letters. From the letters, we know that their last meeting with each other was last year. It was at the primary school graduation. After graduation, Akari had to move to Tochigi with her parents. Meanwhile, Takaki stayed in Tokyo. Through the letters, Akari often told Takaki how cold Tochigi was and how she missed Tokyo. Takaki also planned to move to Kagoshima at the end of the year. One day, Takaki asked his friends how to go to Tochigi. His friends told him to take the bullet train. After planning, Takaki and Akari made a promise to meet with each other at Tochigi train station. They planned to enjoy the cherry blossoms together there. Takaki still tried to go to Tochigi despite the heavy snow. On the train, Takaki remembers the day he spent with Akari. They were both transfer students and spent more time at the library during break. This made their bond closer with each other. Their classmates even teased them for always being together, but they didn't care about it. The train finally arrived at Shinjuku Station. With mixed feelings, Takaki proceeded on the journey to another train. While waiting for the next train, Takaki remembered when Akari called to tell him that she was moving to Tochigi. She kept apologizing to Takaki about it. On the train, Takaki worried that he would not make it in time. They promised to meet at 7 p.m. But due to the heavy snow, the trains were delayed, making him very late. During one of the transit, Takaki even lost the letter that he would give Akari to confess to her. It broke his heart and made him cry. After a long journey and many delays, Takaki finally arrived at Tochigi Station at 11 p.m. He hoped that Akari would already be home. But he was really surprised to see Akari still waiting for him there. They finally met with each other and enjoyed the food prepared by Akari together. After the station had closed, they went to a cherry blossom tree. But all the leaves had already gone. They then assumed the snow was the cherry blossoms. There, they hugged and shared their first kiss. That time, Takaki realized that they couldn't always be together. He realized that there will always be obstacles that they will face in the future. Just like how he already planned to meet her but was ruined by the condition. That night, they slept together in a small shed after a long conversation. The next morning, Takaki went home by train. They promised to be in touch by letter and phone. Takaki did not tell Akari about the letter he had lost. On the other hand, Akari also prepared a letter for Takaki, but she did not give it to him. Now we go to the next chapter of the movie, Cosmonaut. We are introduced to the character Kane Sumida. This chapter is told from her perspective. Now Takaki is a final-year high school student, and Kane is one of his classmates at Tanegashima. Their school is near the Tanegashima Space Center, the largest rocket launch complex in Japan. Kane has liked Takaki since the first day he transferred to the school. She often purposely waited for Takaki at school in the afternoon so they could go home together. We are shown the confusion faced by teenagers during the transition to adulthood. Kane is confused about determining her career after graduation. She is still uncertain whether to continue to college or be a pro surfer, just like her older sister. She is also confused about when to confess to Takaki. Takaki and her often spend time with each other after school at a convenience store near the school. But even when they were together, Kane often saw Takaki sending mail from his phone. She also saw that Takaki often gazes into the distance as if wanting something from far away. During one of their conversation, Kane was relieved to hear that Takaki was also worried and unsure about his future. Which is just like her. At her home, Kane was seen glad that even Takaki was the same as her. Meanwhile, at his home, Takaki was looking at his phone. He saw a message that was never sent because he did not know where to send it. The next day, Kane is determined to solve her problems one by one after hearing Takaki's advice. She went surfing with her older sister. She swore that if she managed to conquer the waves that day, she would confess to Takaki. That day, she finally succeeded in conquering the waves and is now determined to confess to the love of her life. After school, she waited for Takaki to go home together. As usual, they stopped at a convenience store together. At the parking area, she stopped Takaki to tell her feelings to him, but she backed off immediately. When they are about to go home, Kane's motorcycle breaks down and cannot start. They then decided to walk home together. On the way home, Kane still thinks of ways to confess to Takaki, but her heart was filled with doubts. She then cried because Takaki was always so kind to her and that she was still too afraid to reveal her hidden feelings. Suddenly, a rocket took off into the sky, leaving a trail of smoke behind it. At that time, her wish to confess to Takaki was distracted. She then cancelled her intention because she felt that Takaki was expecting something far away that exceeded her. Kane drowned in sadness in her room because she had to bury her feelings for Takaki deep down. This marked the end of the second chapter. The last chapter that told the continuation of Takaki and Akari's story started. It is titled 5 centimeters per second. In 2008, Takaki finally worked as a very busy programmer at a huge company in Tokyo. He seemed to be living a messy life. He had a relationship for 3 years with another woman. However, it seemed that he never truly opened with her. Akari is still in his heart, and he is still hoping for her. To distract himself, he drowned himself in work. But the pain in his heart lingers. Depressed, he decided to quit his job. We then saw Akari's life. Unlike Takaki, she is now preparing for her wedding to another man. The day before, she accidentally found the letter she wrote to Takaki back in the day. The narration then continues with Takaki and Akari's perspectives that connect. They both dreamed about the past. They recreated their last meeting at the cherry blossom tree in the dream. Scenes by scenes kept playing with the closing soundtrack. We were shown their lives after their farewell. Takaki at his new school walking with Kane. Akari is walking on her own. Takaki and Akari were exchanging letters but eventually stopped. How they kept looking at the mailbox even though time had passed. How they still missed each other. Time goes on. The two tried to move forward and had a relationship with other people. Akari succeeded in it, but unfortunately, Takaki did not. He still lives in the shadow of his past and hopes to meet Akari again. One day, when passing the road that they both went through as kids, Takaki and Akari passed by each other. They both stopped and looked back. But unfortunately, the train suddenly passed by. Takaki was waiting for Akari, but after the train was already gone, so was Akari. After that, Takaki smiled and just continued walking. It seemed to be the first smile Takaki showed throughout the film. Hopefully, it means that Takaki finally let go of his past. So that concludes the recap of 5 centimeters per second. What do you guys think? It seemed just right that this film received many awards. The plot's depiction and presentation are very realistic and relatable to many people. This made us feel empathy for each of the characters here. Even though we can see how Takaki's character was so melancholic and depressive, we can feel some sympathy for Takaki in the second chapter. We can see how he was always friendly and kind to Kane. Luckily Makoto Shinkai decided not to make this a happy ending, which will break down the entire plot that was neatly and touchingly arranged from the start. The train here symbolized the obstacle and separator of Takaki and Akari. As we can see, Takaki's effort to meet Akari at Tochigi was always hindered by the late train at every station. Even by the end of the movie, the train separated the two of them again. Meanwhile, the rocket symbolized the dream and hope that flew away and will not be easily achieved. Please tell us what you think through the comment section. If you like this content, please leave us a like and share them with your friends. Thank you for watching,